Well, I guess it's time for some more on this mess. Move the toolbox over here where I can tear into it. I pulled the coolant tray out. At least it's semi-clean. I'll take a pressure washer to it. I also pulled the pump out. Now these are the controls that it has on it. These are factory. From what I understand, emergency start or stop switch, a 12-volt light indicator that tells you there's power to the machine. 24 volts is what should control all this. This is self-explanatory, on and off. And then a 3-position switch for slow, fast, and off. Digging into the side of it, well, let me go to the back. This is just a mess and a half. That's a pump, and it turns out it's 110 volt. I found a plug they had rigged up for it, and this looks like it was factory plug. So you could easily change out the pump to 110. I just got to figure out how they were getting that 110. There's no neutral run to the machine. So were they getting it off the ground? I think a better way for me to do it is to put a 220 to 110 transformer in it. Anyway, I took all the wires loose so I could get them out of the way and trace them down. Now, this is the factory motor. It's a 2-speed, 3-phase motor, and it has windings for both speeds, and these cables control each one. There's the plate. Don't know if you can see it upside down, but that's a 3-phase, and it pulls 6 amps on the high speed, and it looks like 5.2 on the low speed, 60 hertz. It's made in 1 of 99. Probably one of the newest motors I got around here. Now this is something I just noticed this afternoon. That wire is a 2-wire cable that comes up in here, goes up through there, makes a 90-degree turn, wherever it is. I found it, there it is, down there. It goes into this pipe looking thing that goes up all the way up to here. I haven't traced it out of there yet. I have no idea what it is. The only thing I could think it could be would be a mercury switch that would turn it off if it was in an upright position. If that's so, that's pretty easy to check out. I'm not ready to tear into this saw yet. I just want to make sure it's worth saving, because as you can see, it's taking up a lot of valuable space. I need to get onto that Axelson. Got to get it painted now. Anyway, let's look down here. As I was messing around, I saw this. What the heck's that? That was an on-off switch disconnect for the machine, safety disconnect. And what I thought was broken is a DIN-mounted switch that takes a shaft that this used to be sticking out and would go in there. Well, all that's long gone. I think they just switched it over to on position and left it. There's the control transformer I have to work with. And as you can see, there's plenty of space down there. I can put another 220 to 110, because this, well, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the factory, I hope, wires that came in. They sure look like everything else. It's got a brown, blue, black, and a green and yellow. So that should be L1, L2, L3, and then ground. So no neutral. And it shows it coming into this little block right here. Ground feeds through, and then this connects. But as you can see, there's all kinds of wires hanging loose. And at first, the other night, when I was just glancing at this going, what the heck? I was so kind of semi-pissed off at the condition of it. I didn't even take time to look at it and see what was going on. I wanted to get the grinder going. This isn't even hooked up. I don't know if it's any good. I don't really care. This one was factory hooked up, and it's got wires coming out of the bottom, and it's a breaker. So I'd imagine it would come from here down to here and then feed on through. This F5 is a fuse that I don't know where it goes to. Under all this mess is another contactor that's just hooked up, but just hooked up to this on the bottom, and wires are hanging loose everywhere. Then we get onto this side, and these are all fuse holders. So you've got 9 fuses there, 1 over here, and then 2 more up here. And some feed-through blocks. That is the cable that goes up to that part up on the saw that I suspect is a mag switch or a mercury switch, you know, detecting if it's level or not. And it comes in here. It looks like it's got a jumper, but then it goes into one wire down here. I have to see what's going on there. I'm not sure that's jumped or not. Now, all this mess is not factory. All the factory stuff was in cable trays and neatly marked, and somebody's had their way with this machine, and they've done it in a weird way. I guess just to make it work. Well, as you can see, that's the back of the indicator light that'll tell you if it's on or not. They've got things rigged into here. This, I don't know where it went. Might have been a fuse or something. Who knows what it was. So, those are fuses. And tracing back the wires coming from the motors, I've pulled this one and this one. These are the 2 that goes to the motor. For some reason, only one has got a ground in it. Maybe that's the way it made. Guess you only need 1 ground going up there. Then we have wires that I can't really see well if they're marked or not for leads. Looks like they have some markings on them. Anyway, 3 go to this first TF2, 3 go to this TF1, and if you feel underneath this TF3, it's totally disconnected. And there's no wires coming up here. So I don't know if that was for an auxiliary from the factory that just never got used or what. I can't find a schematic on it. I've looked and looked. Anyway, what the people that raped this machine did, they ran this 110 volt cable over here, and then they ran it to the top of this contactor, and then they daisy chained it over to the top of this contactor, and then it daisy chains down and somewhere in this into this contactor. Well, I don't know where this is going yet. I have to trace it out, but there's another cable going out of there. But I strongly suggest it's one that's over there capped off. I strongly think that's what it is. I just need more time. But what they've done is they ran a 112 volt auxiliary line into this machine. They looped the positive between these three contactors. They took the ground to the metal cabinet. Then they took the white and they ran it up through here and they put it on that emergency stop switch. Then it goes through and comes to this toggle switch right here. I don't know what that one's doing. It was unplugged when I found it. And it runs back, and when you plug in the 110 volt and flip this switch, this contactor activates. This contactor comes out three-phase down to this fuse holder and goes to one of the motors. The motor up on the saw. This contactor is not contacting when I flip the position switch over here to go to slow. So I don't think they've got any of that hooked up, but why they would jump it from one to the other and then the other, I don't know. They're not going to use it. Then it comes out of this contactor, goes through this fuse block, and then out through the factory wiring to the motor for the lower high speed. I don't know which one it is. Well, now that I've had a chance to calm down and look at it more in depth, by the way, a lot of people have offered help. Don's offered help. Don says, I don't like to ask for help very much, but people are busy. Anyway, there is a guy down in Australia that offered to do a set of diagrams for it, and this is what he does as a living, so I'm corresponding with him. Just got in contact with him today. Last night I went on to my favorite place to buy stuff like this, Automation Direct, and started looking up to see what it would cost to get some of these parts. And frankly, in today's world, they're dirt cheap. In fact, I have decided to just get rid of everything in here. Well, I have some of the terminal blocks and things like that already, and I'll probably keep the fuse holders as they're okay. But I need a new switch out here for the door because frankly, I like to put those on that may save somebody's life, opening it up and killing themselves. Got a new switch handle, new guide, a new switch over here, and a new shaft for it. I'm going to get rid of all this mess. We're going to do it right. In fact, I suspect that 90% of the factory wiring is still in there and okay. It's just somebody wanted to make this thing work, and they figured out that they knew how to make a contactor go. So, you know, and the thing that gets me is I don't see where they're getting 112 volt yet. So they just ran a 112 volt line in here to that contactor, and that may be where they're getting it from. I don't know. I'll have to dig in some more. These little contactors are like $35. So I'm going to get new contactors for everything. New contactors so we can control the pump from up here. New switches, all of these are going to be replaced. I'll take all this stuff off, paint it up, put some new switches and legends in it. I'm going to buy a sandblast attachment for my power washer. This thing, I'll roll it outside and we'll sandblast this off and get the cabinet down to where it's clean and it'll be worth looking at. I usually don't do that because most of the time I need the machine tools to do jobs for me. But now that I'm semi-retired, these are the jobs I like to do. Anyway, that's where this stands. Oh, I figure I could go check and make sure that that switch is what I think it is. Be right back. Let's see if I can figure out those two wires. Take them out of their circuit. Six goes on the right. Well, maybe not. 6 and 8. 6 goes on the right, 8 goes on the... If I'm right, and it's working, this should have continuity through here. None there. And no change. I sure would have thought that would have been a safety. So, the next part of this is that even working? Nothing else is, so why should that be? All right, now that we know where these things are going, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump straight to my pigtail so that I can tell if that motor is any good or not. I'm going to go through the fuses in that fuse block and directly to the motor. That way it shouldn't feed back from anything. Should be it's just a direct line straight over there to it. Which one of you stole my wire strippers? Can't be Don. Don's not here. There they are. I wish you'd make these doors like they make LiftMaster control cabinets for gate operators I put in. This whole door lives right off 2 pins. We'll cut this and use it as a ground for it. We'll ground it to the cabinet that way. Can y'all see? No? That whole thing is spot welded in place. No screws or anything to take it loose. I just have to put my foot up there for you. Another commenter said something. I had 2 comments. One of them said that my motor was polling. And frankly, I had never heard of polling in a 3-phase motor. Of course, I don't know everything. So, in the polling sense of the word, I've always associated that with stepper motors. And had time to look it up. There's lots of people smarter than I am. It's an old country boy trying to make by with what I got. Oh, they just swipe some wire from, it's like an electric cord, and wired this up. It's got green, white, and black going to that fuse block in that motor. Another man commented that sometimes his rotary phase controller will act like mine was when I was trying to start it in the last video. I usually take and start a motor like on that lathe over there by turning, making all the connections, then going over to my control box for my RPC and turning it on from there. Now the RPC is protected by circuit breakers and fuses, and most of the time I don't want to be anywhere close to one of these things and plug it in. So that's what was going on when I tried to start the motor. The rotary phase motor would not start up and run. Some people thought it was this motor doing it. It wasn't. It was the motor up there. This one had all the switches turned off. The emergency stop was pulled, and shouldn't have had any load on it at all. So now what I've done is I've hooked up my three-phase pigtail directly to that motor through a set of fuses down here. I guess I should check to see if all the fuses are good. While I'm here, let's see. The 10 amp dual element fuse. That motor only pulls 6 amp on high. That one's good. That one's good. 3 for 3. All right. Maybe I could get something to hold that door open better while I'm not here. Y'all are going to have to be brave. I'm going to be over there when this thing starts. Tell me if you see anything happening. Turn around. Okay, we're going to double check everything. I have green to ground. I have L1, L2, and L3 go down to this fuse box. The fuse box comes straight out and goes to this motor. Y'all tell me if you see any splains. Fan's going. Got a knock going on. Not hot. Looks like the thing's warped. I wonder if it's going backwards. It is. I'll be right back. It's going this way on the wheel. It should be going this way, coming around, and then the teeth going in that direction. So that tells me, y'all aren't even looking. So that tells me one of the phases, it's out of phase. I've turned on the power, off the power. I'm going to switch two of these wires right here. This is hopeful sign. I suspect that's the low speed. But that is what was coming from the one contactor that I saw would work when you hit that switch. Oh no. I'd have to do some work on truing up that pulley, that drive pulley. Okay, I switched it, so now it should be going this way. Y'all watch. Well, I'm gonna move you over where you can see. How's that? Should be coming towards you. Sounds like it's scraping on the casting. That's in its correct phase now. Go turn it off, and we'll see if it goes to the other one. So we know that it is going correctly there. That seemed like a pretty slow speed. Of course, it's geared down. Let's see. Now this is the other one. Better check and see if it's got good fuses too. Good. Good. And good. One commenter said he didn't understand why I said that this should be a crime. Said something like, you know, cops think speeding's a crime, and it is. I happen to think there's more than one definition of crime. frankly, wiring this thing up and then giving it to somebody that has no clue what they're doing, and they plug it in and then electrocutes themselves, that would make it a really big crime. Okay. We have red to green, white to black, black to white, and green to green for the ground. Y'all move over here and tell me if it blows up. It sounds like low speed already. Gonna have to take that. Let's see if we can straighten it up. I have a feeling it's hitting the casting back there in the back. I wonder if position does anything. Not really. The shaft is turning straight. But that washer's sure off. And you can kind of see, I don't know if they did a good job on. Well, that's for next time. At least now we know that it works. At least now we know it's worth saving. The motor's going. I'm a lot happier. Thanks for watching.